to open with remarks from the Chairwoman of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs and the sponsor of a bill directly related to today's topic. H.R. 1280 features as its centerpiece the proposition that the United States Congress, which votes on trade agreements, might want to vote on agreements dealing with sharing nuclear technology, which, as one pundit put it, in the case of power reactors, are bomb starter kits. Now, not everyone agrees, and that's the reason we're here. I'd like to start off then having the Chairwoman make some remarks, and then we'll get into our regular program.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for being here, and thank you, Henry, for putting this event together, and thank you each and every one of you for being here. This is an important topic, and the bill that I have put forth has indeed its fair share of controversy. But I think that no matter where you stand on that piece of legislation, we can all agree that preventing the spread of weapons of mass destruction must rank among our nation's highest priorities. And that is what my bill is designed to do by preventing a short-sighted focus on commercial and political interests from undermining our long-term security. The broad and bipartisan support for this bill was demonstrated by the unanimous vote in the Foreign Affairs Committee last year, and we have many supporters in the House and in the Senate as well. But I have to say that expecting the Senate to do much of anything is, as the saying goes, the triumph of hope over experience. So the House must lead once again. And unfortunately, the bill has some formidable opponents. I would imagine that many of them are in this room today. But first, we have the Rules Committee, a big hurdle to overcome there. It's holding up the legislation for what I consider to be reasons that are not truly serious. They say that if the House were to occasionally vote on nuclear cooperation agreements, that it would clog up our legislative calendar. Well, that really doesn't pass the laugh test, but I will leave it up to you to determine what their actual objections are, as that is all that I have been able to get out of those votes. I don't think that important votes clog up the calendar. I believe that's the reason that we are here. But the principal opponent, of course, is the nuclear energy industry, which has been lobbying members with a great deal of success. For example, the Armed Services Committee was prevented from putting key provisions of the legislation in the Defense Authorization Bill. But I'm happy to say that language supporting the gold standard did make it into the committee report. Unfortunately, a number of the arguments being put forward by opponents are simply not true. The bill is not aimed at the U.S. nuclear industry, not at all. That is not the target. In fact, many supporters of the bill are also strongly in favor of nuclear power. Not all, but most. Nor is there any evidence that any country now contemplating a nuclear cooperation agreement with the United States would refuse to sign one that had these simple protections in it. There's no evidence that that would be true. So we have repeatedly reached out to those opposing the legislation to tell me, what do you find a problem in the bill? Let's address it. So every time that they come up with a problem, we try to address it and related issues, and our discussions are ongoing. So I would say that this is not a closed book case. This is in negotiations. We're in conversations. We're flexible. as Everett Dirksen said, I'm a man of principles, and one of my principles is flexibility. But we're countering so many misconceptions and untruths about this bill, out-and-out falsehoods, and this has slowed down our progress. As for what's next, which is what I would imagine that many of you would ask, all that I'm at liberty to say is that we're continuing our discussions with other members. We're just continuing our discussions with leadership to map out a plan and a path so our bill can make it to the floor, and so that the House as a whole can vote to support this much-needed legislation. But Congress cannot do it alone. Our success depends on people like you and your devotion to stopping this deadly threat to us and to the world before it is too late. So I thank you for your interest in this bill. I thank you for your willingness to work with us to ensure that we do have the best bill possible that addresses all of the concerns that people may have. And as we move it forward, that we're able to have you shepherd it along with us. And we want, of course, to bring it to the President's desk to await his signature. So if you are, whether you're in favor or against the bill, I would say that the most helpful thing that you could do is to counter the falsehoods about the bill. It is not directed at the nuclear industry. It's to have Congress have a voice in what is a very, very serious issue. And right now, we don't have a voice. So that's simply put what the bill tries to do. And there are many exaggerations about what the bill is aimed for or what we want to get at. And a lot of that is hogwash. And it's just not rooted in what the bill does, what it aims to do, and there are no ulterior motives behind this bill. We like the nuclear industry. I'm in favor of it. I have nothing against it. We want Congress to have a say. So let's fight the falsehoods and let's meet those rumors head on and whack at them whenever they rear their ugly heads. So that's all I have to say about my bill. So thank you very much, but I am here to listen to John Bolton. I don't know about you. And all of you guys too. All of you guys too. You're eye candy. John Bolton is saying. Muchísimas gracias. Muy agradecida. Thank you, everybody.
Eye candy. I'll have to tell my wife. The other thing is, if you look around the room, you'll notice it's full. I was told about 4 years ago not to pursue this topic. It was too marginal. No one was interested. It doesn't appear that's the case. There is one other party that's interested. I don't know whether people understand this, but the executive branch is now undergoing a review or reconsideration of whether and to what extent it will adopt the gold standard in its negotiating of 1, 2, 3 agreements. Now, I don't know how many people in the executive are here. Something tells me at least one. Now, someone who actually knows something about the executive, someone who has served, is Ambassador John Bolton. I don't believe he needs much of an introduction, but it is worth noting that he comes to the topic of public policy with the equipment of a legal lens, which is not normally the equipment of most policymakers. I think this is what keeps him gyroscopically driven to actually be mildly consistent beyond what most policymakers are. That's what makes John so interesting in my book. He will even argue against his bosses if it seems like the right thing to do. That's called public service. That's why we have protection of public servants. But in his case, for the most part, he's been a political appointee. So, on that note, I thought it was important to be able to hear what John has to say. You should know, if you don't already, he has quite a voice on my side of the aisle with the Republicans and with, yes, the Romney campaign. Not a key point, but it's worth noting. We are trying to get views across the spectrum. On that note, Mr. Ambassador.
Foreign Policy Initiative for putting this event together today. Thank all of you for coming, because I do think it's an important issue, and it's an issue that's going to continue to arise and I think grow more significant as time goes on. For those who are primarily concerned with stopping the threat of nuclear proliferation, which I think is growing, and I think the significance of the emphasis on proliferation is demonstrated by the fact that Ileana Lehtinen co-sponsored